why it's coming out now is we wanted to wait, to get through all of the legal proceedings, the criminal trial, and it's four parts, and it spans over 30 years of, pop culture, his life. So it took some time, to say the least, to put all of this together.
It's an important story, and you could just tell it with all the public material. Mm-hmm. You go further. You've gotten your hands on some extra new material people are going to see for the first time, including this video. Any journalist would want to know how you got it, but it is Sean Diddy Combs in the heat of this, right before the arrest for the trial we just discussed, in private moments, talking to his lawyer, cameras running.
He also underestimated that with every celebrity, you do have different claims, and some are completely unfounded. But I think that some of these lawsuits, there's receipts, mm-hmm. and there's footage, and there's voice recordings. And I think that for a man, it's also very interesting, for the culture of hip hop, so many artists record themselves, and they probably, when they were, recording themselves in 2005, never saw the year 2025 and how accessible that media would be to actually make a case for things. And I think that's a big part of the
50 Cent's new Netflix documentary dropped on Tuesday and immediately stepped into the spotlight, drawing viewers in with its rapid-fire storytelling and eye-opening details. The film moves with clear intent, unfolding powerful testimonies from individuals who once stood close to Diddy and understood the environment around him far better than anyone on the outside ever could. Through unprecedented behind-the-curtain footage and accounts that have rarely been shared publicly, the documentary assembles a vivid picture of his rise, his controversies, and the shadowed ecosystem that surrounded his success. The Reckoning. A fresh group of former Bad Boy Records insiders and artists come forward to recount how they personally experienced the turbulent years following the deaths of Biggie Smalls and Tupac. Rather than being presented as definitive proof, their statements reflect long-held experiences and unresolved doubts that continue to linger well after the media attention faded. Individuals including rapper Mark Curry, Roxanne Johnson, Craig Mack's former wife, and Bad Boy co-founder Kirk Burrows offer a revealing look at a music empire under intense pressure. They describe an era defined by rising tension, unequal treatment, and a deepening East-West divide that ultimately reshaped the landscape of 1990s hip-hop forever.
Greg Kading, the detective that worked on Tupac and Biggie's case in this documentary. He is the investigator that did that proffer agreement with Keefe D way back in 2008, where Keefe D alleged that Diddy tried to offer him $1 million to take out Tupac and Suge Knight. And Tupac's trial with Keefe D is coming up very soon in early 2026. And we know that Diddy's name has been dropped at least 200 times during these proceedings already.
Created the atmosphere for both of those guys to lose their life.
I honestly, when I look back on it, if he trusted Sean more, it would have been better. But he didn't trust him as much as the way Sean says they were best friends after he was dead. No, I didn't see that during the time.
The documentary goes on to reveal lesser-known moments and previously overlooked pieces of the story, shaping it into one of the most startling and comprehensive examinations of Diddy's public controversies to date. As of now, he remains housed in a federal facility in New Jersey, serving a 50-month sentence connected to unlawful transportation charges under the Mann Act, a conviction handed down earlier this year. While a jury did not find him guilty of the more serious organized crime, related accusations, the public scrutiny surrounding him has only continued to intensify.
Sent a cease and desist letter to Netflix.
That's right. They are demanding it not release a docuseries featuring.
This documentary does more than revisit allegations from the past. It brings forward new claims and revelations that are already fueling renewed media coverage and intense public debate. The filmmakers obtained rare behind-the-scenes footage of Diddy inside a New York hotel room just 6 days before his arrest, captured by a videographer he had personally hired. In these clips, he is seen engaged in intense conversations with his attorney, reacting in real time to the non-stop news cycle and the way it was reshaping his image across the country. The footage provides an unusually candid glimpse into his state of mind during a critical moment, revealing a mix of frustration, strategic planning, and concern as the situation continued to escalate.
Waiting the whole time for Aubrey O'Day to reveal some major story that happened between her and Diddy. 3 episodes in, she's basically just talking about Diddy in a very general way. It isn't until the 4th episode that Aubrey reveals a witness walked in on Aubrey O'Day completely inebriated with Diddy doing things to her, as well as a second man who they refer to as a light-skinned, tall man. Details are very explicit and not anything I could share on here. This witness revealed that it was 100% Aubrey O'Day. It was really uncertain in watching Aubrey's reaction and kind of resharing this story, whether or not she fully recollected the situation. He says it couldn't have been her choice to become inebriated because that was never her issue. She never really drank a whole ton. The earlier parts of this series, Aubrey does reveal these series of emails that she got from Diddy. They were all in very sexual nature, in a very sexual tone. He's basically asking her to come over and do certain things with him. It's these very domineering emails where he's basically setting the tone that he's the boss. She says that she felt very uncomfortable about those emails and
it is highly unusual to hear someone speak with this level of candor in the days leading up to an indictment, particularly during conversations that are typically protected by strict confidentiality. Legal analysts note that the presence of a videographer during such moments may have unintentionally complicated the standard attorney-client protections that would normally apply. Diddy's team later told NBC News that the footage was recorded without proper authorization, maintaining that they had no knowledge of how the material ultimately ended up in Netflix's possession. They also stated that the videographer was bound by strict contractual agreements designed to keep all private discussions sealed and off limits to the public.
Bad boy, we had gotten over CCNY. It looked like the coast was clear. We were renegotiating with Arista. We were about to get a step up in the money. I had 25% of the company. I didn't know why he needed to get that back from me and then give it back to me again. I didn't understand that. That's like a trick. Like, okay, here, I gave it to you. Now give it back. And don't worry, I'm going to give it right back to you. I didn't want to give it up. So he came into my office one day unexpected, him and Kenny Marsalis. They had it planned out. Kenny had the briefcase with all the stock certificates in it. And Diddy had the bat. Not like, I'm going to beat the shit out of you with the bat. But he had the bat like, man, we got to do this. This has to happen. I didn't feel I was going to get beat down in that office, in all honesty. I got people that could jump out of the shadows in a minute. I wasn't threatened by him. What I was messed up over was the fact that I started this company with you from day zero, and now the one solid thing that you told me I had, you want to take that back and do a return to me on that at this critical time that we're renegotiating and getting a step up on the contract. When he told me it was about all of that renegotiating and that I should trust, I did, begrudgingly, angry, upset. It wasn't right. I did it. He got the stock back. I went on, tried to get over that, kept doing my job, doing what I had to do, delivering everything. And once again, I was caught up in the job. I forgot all about it. And next thing you know, we had the snafu. I was fired. And he just said, oh, okay, bye. And since he had never given me his stock back, he never said that he would pay me anything or give me anything. He just avoided me all these years. Not only did he avoid me all these years, running high and low, I went on and started working with Mary, who the three of us.
The series also reintroduces figures from different chapters of Diddy's career, including former collaborators, performers, and long-standing associates who provide a ground-level view of his rise and cultural influence. Their recollections help fill in key gaps, offering audiences a clearer sense of what it was like to move within his orbit during some of the most pivotal moments in hip-hop history. One of those voices is Aubrey O'Day from Making the Band, who reflects on her own experiences working under his leadership. Her perspective adds emotional depth to the episode, exploring both the opportunities and the challenges that came with being part of his creative world.
Money, Pac wanted to leave, and it could be some other shit that was going on. But they still created an atmosphere for that. You understand that East Coast, West Coast bullshit. When Suge was trying to use the New York guys to, okay, man, come on, let's make some sense of this shit. And have a meeting and sit down with the New York guys and ask for a representative for Puff to come on. Puff was mad. You see now why Puff was mad. Everybody know now why Puff was mad. That he didn't want nobody to come to the meeting because Suge was playing Pay Daddy. Suge was in there playing Play Daddy with Justin. It's crazy. I said, well, how you going to be mad at Misa and the East Coast, West Coast? And now we see why he was mad. We don't know if Suge sent Puff those pictures years ago. We don't know that. But that's why Puff didn't send a representative when Zipman was asking him, man, let me represent, just let me know. Nah, man, F that. They trying to get a black distribution company, a publishing company, all that for hip-hop artists and music. Puff and Jay-Z ain't gonna have shit to do with it. And look who get rewarded behind that. So, to answer your question, I think the atmosphere that they designed and made up led to what we know was the East Coast, West Coast war. And both of them have...
Someone who previously dated Kim Porter shares what he says he personally witnessed during his time around the family, offering a perspective shaped by years of close proximity. Former bodyguard Roger Bonds also comes forward, recounting moments in which he claims he saw Diddy behave aggressively toward Cassie. Bonds explains that his early admiration for Diddy gradually changed as he became aware of conduct that, in his view, revealed a very different reality from the image he once believed in.
You say Suge looks over, he sees you. He looks right at you.
Yeah,
okay. When he looks over at you, and then Tupac's busy getting shot. Evidently, the story is Tupac's trying to either get out
in the back seat or something.
Yeah, what do you see happening inside there?
I seen a bullet going Suge's head. I thought he was dead. You thought he was dead.
So Orlando across Dre.
He leaned over on the window. We rolled down the window, popped. They would drove on my side. I would pop them. You know what I'm saying? But they was on the...
He eventually attempted to challenge the situation in court, but his case was dismissed after judges ruled that the statute of limitations had already expired. Even so, he continues to deal with other legal disputes connected to his time in the industry, leaving him still grappling with the consequences decades later. From there, the episode shifts to one of hip-hop's most defining conflicts, the infamous Bad Boy versus Death Row standoff. This East Coast, West Coast clash reshaped the culture, dominated headlines, and altered the sound of an entire generation. Death Row was home to heavyweights like Dr. Dre and Tupac, while Bad Boy represented artists such as Biggie, Faith Evans, 112, and Mod Dollery. However, insiders featured in the documentary offer a striking perspective. They argue that the rivalry's most intense flames were not driven by the artists themselves. According to multiple interviewees, it was the executives, particularly Sean Combs, who continued to push competitive tensions forward until they erupted into a nationwide spectacle.
Go into details on that one. Keep it streets on me. I ain't gonna go into detail on that.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and read from the book.
Well, so let them buy the book then.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna read this passage. The shit was on. Tupac made an erratic move and began to reach down beneath his seat. It was the first and only time in my life that I could relate to the police command. Keep your hands where I could see them. Instead, Pac pulled out a strap, and that's when the fireworks started. One of my guys from the backseat grabbed the Glock and started busting back. The first skin shook in the head, and I thought that motherfucker was dead. I had heard some stories, supposedly that Suge used Tupac as a shield when the bullets started flying, but that's some bullshit. Suge was already wounded, and he was the one that got touched. As the rounds continued flying, I ducked down so I wouldn't get hit.
Basically, yeah.
White Cadillac, arm came out the back seat and started letting off. What went through your head when you saw it?
KPD's 2008 proper agreement, he alleged that Diddy's friend Zip Martin is the one that gave him the weapon that was used to take out Tupac. KPD told the investigator Greg Kading that Zip Martin had a special compartment to keep this weapon in his car that he drove to Las Vegas. And in this documentary, we have Greg Kading confirming that Zip Martin did drive the same type of vehicle that KPD alleged to Las Vegas this night. And then during this documentary, we heard from the former president of Bad Boy, Kirk Burroughs, who alleged during this time, Diddy had him hiring a whole bunch of people and getting cars to drive to Las Vegas. And he is now very curious into why Diddy wanted to do this. And he said, in his opinion, he now believes that Diddy was behind.
The documentary portrays the label rivalry as something that escalated far beyond music, transforming into a volatile, street-level conflict. According to the series, various gang affiliations began aligning with opposing sides, with the Crips reportedly backing Bad Boy and Biggie, while the Blood supported Suge Knight and Death Row. What began as industry competition is described as evolving into a dangerous, multi-layered power struggle with real-world consequences. At the center of these rising tensions, the episode highlights Diddy's alleged connection to Eric Von Zip, a figure he had publicly acknowledged as a Menor-like influence and who was said to be linked to Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, a man long associated with New York street networks. Through recordings featured in the series and commentary from former LAPD Detective Greg Kading, viewers hear Davis discuss his claimed involvement, along with his nephew Orlando Anderson, in the 1996 Las Vegas shooting that killed Tupac.
It was the rumor that after Pac got Puffy gave Zip $1 million that was supposed to be handed over, and Zip ended up keeping it. And I remember when I interviewed TK Kirkland, who was actually roommates with Zip at one point. They were that close. He actually said, yeah.
The feds said that too.
He said that actually happened. Well, the story that has circulated was that after Tupac got, Puffy allegedly gave the money.
I heard
to Zip.
Yes.
And Zip was supposed to give the money to Keefe and them.
Yes.
But he never gave the money to him.
But thank God he never gave him the money, right? Think about it. If he gave the money, Puffy will be in prison now, money for hire. So thank God. It's just a true story. I'm not saying yes or no, but if he would have gave them the money, it'd have been for hire and Puffy would be locked up.
Davis also claims that Diddy had promised to pay him and other associates to target Tupac Shakur and Suge Knight, who were riding in the same vehicle during the infamous 1996 attack. According to Davis, the payments never materialized, partly because Knight survived the shooting and partly because the funds supposedly vanished along with Eric Von Zip, who has since passed away. These allegations remain unproven and are strongly disputed, yet they add another layer of tension and complexity to an already convoluted narrative. By including these claims, the documentary heightens a sense of unresolved questions and lingering mysteries surrounding one of hip-hop's most notorious and tragic moments. The series then shifts focus, with Burroughs asserting that Diddy encouraged Christopher Wallace, known as Biggie, to travel to Los Angeles to promote his album. Despite Biggie's own hesitation, that trip tragically culminated in the rapper's murder in 1997.